Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Jamie again, back for yet again another edition of Introduction to Labview tutorial videos. So, kind of what we talked about a little bit last time was creating a sub VI. So, being able to select a portion of your Labview code in order to kind of save, set aside, potentially use in another larger VI setting. Again, basically what this was for was to take a block of your code that you may have spent a lot of time on, be able to save it. That way you don't have to recreate it again, and it can be used in multiple different pieces. You can call upon later whenever you're programming a different virtual instrument. So really a cool little deal. So what we're going to be talking about today is charts and graphs. So being able to utilize and portray your data in a different form. I'm a data guy myself. I was actually a data analyst before I became a teacher. So I know the importance of data visualization. Data visualization is the way for the user to actually make their data real. And being able to visualize that and portray data is what we're going to learn how to do today in Labview. So we're going to learn about a couple different things. We're going to learn about the difference between charts and graphs, and being able to take our data points and connect them to charts and graphs. So let's go ahead and get started. Go ahead and open up our lab view here. We see that we still have our same project going up of our temperature conversion from Fahrenheit to Celsius. We've got our control and our indicator here, and we've got our equation that we messed around with. So let's go ahead and figure out how can we actually bring this data to life by putting into a visual. So the first thing we're going to have to do, and I'm actually going to have to skip forward to video 6, which we're talking about loops in order to do this. And we are going to put together a while loop around our program itself. The reason we're going to have to do that is because we're going to have to be able to see data at a constant, continuous level. And the way to do that is to place a while loop around a program. So we'll go ahead and try to do that real quick. So I'm going to go over here to my block diagram, and I'm going to go to executive control, and I'm going to come down here to while loop. Okay. So go ahead and drag and drop over my equation here, and I see a couple things pop up. I see that I see a kind of a box structure that comes around it. That's going to be the while loop itself. So anything within this box, whenever I click run, is going to run continuously. So a while loop, the way that it works is it's going to execute that code continuously until a stop condition is met. And that stop condition is going to be this stop signal right here. If you notice over here on the front panel, we now have a stop button that has popped up. Let's get this guy moved over here to the bottom. We'll make it a little bit bigger so we can see it. Okay, so our program is now going to run continuously until the user comes in and pushes this stop button. So we'll go ahead and kind of see exactly what that looks like. I'm going to run this right here. Okay, I see that it does change and it still is converting. But what happens if I do the dial up and down? Very cool. So we noticed that before, what we were only able to do was to move the dial and then click run in order to get our conversion here. What we're seeing now is I can do this continuously, and I will get a graph and a conversion, for each value that I slide my slider up to. So a really cool deal. So that is a brief introduction to while loops. So we'll go ahead and stop our program. And let's start putting this into a graph. So what we're going to do here, let's talk real quick about the difference between a chart and a graph. Okay, and we'll do this by kind of showing us a graph or us a chart first. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my thermometer there. We don't need it currently. and we're going to go ahead and put in what is known as a waveform chart. Okay, so basically all we're going to do here is we're going to place it in here, and we're going to connect our values for a waveform chart right here to the end of our conversion here. So what this waveform chart should do is show us point by point in our data set kind of how things are going to fluctuate. There's a couple things I need to do first. So I can actually come in and I'm going to change a couple things about our chart in order to get the data that I actually want. First thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to change the ports of our axes from 100 to -10. Okay, that's going to make sure that we get all of our data points actually in there. The last thing I want to do is actually come in here and see if I can get it to pop up. So I'm right clicking here and I'm going to unclick auto scale. So the reason I'm going to unclick auto scale is that way it does not scale back and forth on our axis to see kind of where our data points are. It's going to stay from -10 to 100. If you do not do this, the line is just going to move in a straight line just like this. What we kind of want to see is the flow of our data. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Next thing I'm going to do, just for kicks and giggles, I'm just going to go ahead and rename this temperature Celsius. That way we kind of just see that the way it looks. So let's just kind of mess around with it and kind of see what this looks like so far. I'll go ahead and click run. Oh, okay, so let's see what's happening here. All right, so I'm only getting a straight line up and down like this. Okay, let's figure out what's going on here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click stop. So I believe what's happening is I'm taking in too much data at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here to my block diagram, and I'm going to click a timer here. So how many pieces, how long do I want to wait between iterations to take a data point? So I'm going to go ahead and set him right in here. Okay, milliseconds to wait. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a constant here. And I'm going to say I want it to wait 100 milliseconds between each iteration to take a data point. So let's see how that changes things. Oh, look at that. So as I move my graph now, it's actually waiting just a second. I can get a data point by data point representation of how I am moving my slider here. Very, very, very cool. Okay, this is all well and dandy, but let's say I want to look at a representation of my data over time. So here's where we get to the difference between charts and graphs. Okay, this chart is incredible in the sense that I can watch my data flow second by second, one data point at a time. But let's say I wanted to see the full data set over a scale period of time. Okay, that's where we're going to need to do a graph. Okay, so I'm going to go in here. I'm going to move my stop button just a little bit. Go in and I'm going to put in a waveform graph. Okay. So the thing about this waveform graph is it is actually going to have to sit outside of this loop here. Okay. Because if I don't, I'm never going to get any data. Because I want to see what's happening in a short period of time, and this loop is going to be running continuously. And in order to see the portions of the graph that I want to see, I'm actually going to have to stop my loop in order to see all of my data points. So I'm going to set this outside of it, and I'm actually going to grab and drag my wire here all the way through. And I'll see that I have a break right here in the both the wire and in the outside of the loop. Okay, so let's see what it's trying to tell me here. Okay, I've connected two terminals of different types. Okay, so it says I'm trying to connect a double, which is the type of decimal, to an array value. Okay, so the waveform graph only takes array values. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to index and convert from double into array. So it's very, very easy to do. I'm actually just going to go in here. So it creates what is known as a tunnel in your while loop for that wire to fit through. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go into tunnel mode and I'm going to index. Okay. So basically what that is doing is allowing you to transfer through your while loop for double values into, array values in order to create a graph. Okay. So let's kind of see what happens now. So I am going to go ahead and click run. We see that our wire is no longer broken. It is now a straight line. So let's see what happens here. I'm going to go in and I'm going to change this guy to temperature Celsius. Okay, let's just kind of see what happens. All right, so as you can see, I'm getting data points from my chart, getting a second by second and movement by movement representation. So let's see what happens if I click stop. I get all of those data points that I just saw, but now all together in one. So I can see my entire data set in one graph here, which I think is pretty awesome. So once again, we have that distinction between a graph, which is going to show the entire data set, and a chart, which is just going to show data point by data point as you begin to manipulate. Outside of that, guys, I think that is just about everything for waveforms and charts. We got to learn a little bit about while loops. We got to learn a little bit about how to take in data a little bit at a time by using our timer here. And let's see what's up next. The next one we're actually going to be talking about case structures, which we talked a little bit about in our creating a sub VI one. We're going to go into a little bit more detail on how to create some case structures in order to toggle back and forth between true and false statements. So I hope this video was very beneficial for you guys, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.